So I'm going to now switch to English.
For me to be here in Thessaloniki with you, among members of our big family of EPP and representatives of Europe's regional and local authorities, especially in times where populism and nationalism gain ground. Europe needs our big political family to be a solid pillar of stability, reliability, and prosper for Europe. As you all know, I have served for 8 years as mayor of Athens. At that time, I was also a member of the Committee of Regions and presidents of the National Union of Local Governments in Greece. So I have an experience of how local authorities are confronted with the problem. It would be good for everybody in Europe to have this experience. I also strongly believe in the role and the impact that the regional and local authorities can have in bringing Europe closer to our citizens. It is you, the people of regional and local governments, who live, listen and discuss with the European citizens their everyday concerns and problems. Allow me to say that the contribution of the Greek regional and local authorities, and most importantly of the Greek people in dealing with the refugee crisis, has been remarkable against their limited resources, especially under the current well-known conditions. It is an example of the fundamental values on which our common European endeavour has been built on: solidarity, responsibility, and democracy. These common principles, these common values are there to remind us why the European Union remains the most attractive democratic project in our uncertain world. However, some people lately are turning their back to our common endeavour, convinced that we do not need common answers. They are convinced that it is more efficient to tackle each one alone challenges such as the migration crisis and the terrorist threats than being a member of the European family, which is gathering today, as I said in the beginning, in Bratislava for the informal meeting of the 27 heads of states and governments. The voices calling for walls, fences and closed borders, unfortunately, are getting louder. They are the same voices that ask for solidarity à la carte and turning commitments and responsibility into populism and demagogy when they go from Brussels back to their countries. In other words, they have two languages. They give pledges in Brussels, and when they go back home, they articulate an inwards-looking nationalist political verb. In this context, I couldn't agree more with the message in the title of your meeting here in Thessaloniki today. The refugee crisis is a common challenge and needs a collective response. Ladies and gentlemen, only 2 days ago, President Juncker, in his speech at the State of the Union in Strasbourg, announced that the next 12 months are crucial to deliver a better Europe that protects, preserves the European way of life, empowers our citizens, defends at home and abroad, takes responsibility. For 2017, in the field, in the domain of migration and security, we will put strong emphasis on the protection and the better management of our external borders. Tolerance cannot come at the price of our security. I want to be clear. Those who come to Europe and have the right to international protection, they will get it. Those who do not have this right, they will have to return. This is why we establish legal avenues for migration, in order to crack down smuggling networks and avoid, which is very important, maybe the most important, loss of lives, while we introduce stricter rules regarding secondary movements. Since the adoption of the European Agenda on Migration the last 16 months, we have achieved a lot. We have developed a holistic approach addressing both the internal and external aspects of migration, dealing with, in short, mid and long-term perspectives. And we will continue delivering with the swift adoption by the co-legislators of our common European asylum system proposal, including the reform of the Dublin mechanism. With the effective implementation of the EU-Turkey statement, with the need to intensify relocations from Greece and Italy, to continue resettlements from Turkey to the European Union, to ensure effective returns, including the protection of the unaccompanied minors. With the swift operationalization of the European Borders and Coast Guard, with the implementation of the new migration partnership framework with third countries, especially the countries of Northern Africa, with the promotion on global level of a common response to migration. The European Commission has taken the lead. Now it is time for the co-legislators, the Council and the European Parliament to intensify their efforts for the prompt adoption of the initiatives already on the table. I really count on your support in this respect. But more than proposing new legislations and policies, what we need now is coordinated implementation and action, because there is our weakness. The key, as I said before, is responsibility and solidarity, not in words, but in practice, from all of us, the European institutions and, of course, the Member States. And as it was said yesterday in Strasbourg by the President, solidarity is the glue that keeps our Union together. I remind you that solidarity and responsibility, they are not only moral, abstract values. They are legal values, explicitly stipulated in the treaties of the Union. And now, allow me now to turn to Greek. Αγαπητές φίλες και φίλοι,
Friends, allow me to say that the migrant crisis has brought the structural weaknesses of the European asylum system to the fore as well. As you know, the Commission has already tabled its proposals for a root and branch reform of the existing system, the aim being to establish a fairer burden-sharing system in Europe between member states. Managing the migrant and refugee flows is not only up to the member states who face the pressure, Italy and Greece, as you know, because they are in the front line for refugees and migrants. It's a collective issue, and all of us have to shoulder their share of the burden. Some people feel that this is something which only affects the south of Europe. It took some time, not too long, before people realized that it's an issue for the entire Europe, the whole of Europe. In fact, then took a little bit longer until people realized it was a global issue. And tomorrow in New York, there is a conference beginning. It was called by the Secretary General because the Secretary General understood how important this was. The same was seen by the President of the United States, calling a similar conference in New York as well. So it's a global issue. We're not only talking about the 1.2 million refugees who are in Europe. There's another 50 million who are scattered around the world now, these people who are looking for a safe haven. So the entire global community needs to shoulder its responsibilities. On asylum, well, the rules, as I said, are being reformed now, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't continue to be implemented. We cannot allow asylum seekers to select the member state where they are going to submit their application, because otherwise all we're going to do is to facilitate organized trafficking circles. Member states, as we've said many times, have to show their solidarity in practice. Given the present conditions, solidarity and relocation are the two faces of the same coin. I would like to stress the important words of the president of the EPP parliamentary group in the European Parliament in Strasbourg just a few days ago, Mr. Weber. He said that in order for Europe to genuinely show, it has to genuinely show its solidarity towards Greece and Italy. In the Aegean, the situation has clearly improved in respect of arrivals. They haven't been seriously affected by recent developments in Turkey. Now, the statement, we're talking about the statement or deal rather than agreement between the EU and Turkey, is holding up well, and it's being implemented. There are clear results from this, and we have to continue to work together, Europe and Turkey, to ensure that it is better and more fully implemented. I recently went to Ankara and I met with Mr. Erdogan, the president, and other members of the government, and that was confirmed there. Also, setting up and operating the European Border and Coast Guard Agency, which will step in for Frontex, I think will really further improve the situation for the EU. It's very important for Greece as well, as you can understand, and also the other countries on the front line, that the external borders of a member state are the common borders indeed for the whole of Europe. Just a few days ago in Strasbourg, there was a meeting where people discussed that as quickly as possible we should get the new body up and working. Now, on the 6th of October, somewhere close to Thessaloniki, there is going to be the inauguration, if you like, of this new body. So it's going to be a clear European response to a European problem. As I said beforehand, the way in which the Greeks have addressed the migration crisis has shown an example of responsibility, dignity and humanity, as well as solidarity. The position, the role of the European citizens with all of the economic crisis they're following, it's been recognized and respected in Europe as well as around the entire world. The situation in Greece, despite the initial delays, has shown progress. However, there are still a lot of steps which need to be taken. The European Commission is and will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with Greece in addressing this crisis. The financial aid which has been extended to Greece is going to hit 1 billion euros in the very near future. Greece is the biggest beneficiary of European funding on the question of migration and the refugees. And that's correct. But Greece, for its part, also has to speed up its absorption of this fund so that we don't see decommitment of major funds from the national programme and emergency aid. Now, as quickly as possible, the reception facilities should be established, and we are increasing our support for material aid and training. An improvement of the asylum conditions, given the number of applications, is one of those areas to which we're attaching particular attention. On this question of returns to Greece for people who are seeking asylum in other countries, right now there is no question of this. A lot has been said. A lot has been done. But we should bear in mind that those who request asylum and the migrants who are in Greece right now, there's about 60,000 of them. such a high number already that it's not possible to think that others who are elsewhere in Europe should be returned over and above that number. Now, I wanted to stress this. It's something I've discussed in many occasions in the past with the President of New Democracy as well. And it's important to say that we have to retain a spirit of understanding on the migration question, as well as on security as well, which goes beyond our various different political colours. It's of crucial importance that we show national awareness to these crucial national issues, because only in that way can we address these major pressures which are being brought to bear on our country and our people. And I think that we have done much on that front, both in Greece and in Europe. As the European Commissioner responsible for migration, refugee, home affairs and citizenship issues, I would say how important all of this for cohesion in Europe and also for the future of its peoples. Major and serious political powers in Europe, as for example our own party, the EPP, are aware of the fact that they face major historic responsibility right now. They have to be at the level of the challenge, and they have to show that they are far removed from a populist stance. We're talking about the future generations here. We have to protect them because we cannot see our European construction starting to crumble at its basis from our generation. More than the economic crisis, I think it's the refugee issue, the migrant issue, which right now is threatening the cohesion of Europe. And that is fertile ground to be cultivated by the populist forces, the nationalist forces, and the demagogues out there. We have common challenges ahead of us, and we have to face them on the basis of the fundamental values of Europe. We have to come up with solutions to issues which are of importance to the European citizens, of course, but we cannot lose sight of the basis. We cannot lose sight of the historic path we have followed and on which the European Union has been built. Responsibility, solidarity and democracy, in other words. I think that within this crisis, we will come out stronger if we stand united. And that is the message, I think, which has to come out of this conference today. A decisive Europe, a strong Europe, and a united Europe. We shouldn't allow all of those who are looking backwards to take us back there, because basically I think that some of us may have had the prerogative of living this period of stability and peace, but we shouldn't take all that as a given, that it's something just happened. You know, the same applies for New Democracy as well. For democracy as well. I took part in a New York Times conference yesterday, and I said it shouldn't be taken as a given. It's under threat every day, and unfortunately, the forces of populism and nationalism are exploiting this. But I think within the other parties as well, we agree that there is convergence on the fact that we have to fight this nationalism. There's patriotism, we have that as well, but obviously we're not there. We have our differences, our traditions, our own identity. We can't become a federalist body, but patriotism, yes, but nationalism, you shouldn't hate other people's own nations as well. That's the difference between us and the others. And basically, I think that everything which was achieved after the dramatic circumstances of the Second World War, I mean, we could speak to the people from the Second World War, that's what they tell us right now. I know better than anyone else here that we're not a Marxist, but, you know, saying that history repeats itself. Wrong, Mr. Marx. History doesn't repeat itself. People repeat themselves because they're not aware of what's happened. Thank you.